So I had to make a decision on my actions. And I realized the distinction between somebody who is financially independent and somebody who's not is the values that they have in their life, the priorities that they live their life by. Because money circulates through the economy from those who value it least to those who value it most. And people who value it the most want to make sure that they put their money into things that go up in value because it's a reflection of their appreciation of money. Just like people circulate through society from those who value them least to those who value it most, money also circulates through the economy from those who value it least to those who value it most. And people who value it least buy things that are consumables of other people's brands to make them feel better. They go down in value as a depreciable instead of building their brand and putting their money into assets that appreciate in value that build their own brand. So if you don't really have, if you really don't have a value on wealth building, then it will pass through your hands into people who do. And even if you inherit money, I've seen people inherit money or win lottos. I've seen them squander money in a very rapid period of time because they didn't really have a value on wealth building. They had a value on immediate gratifying consumables that depreciated in value more so than a long-term visionary appreciation of things that went up in value. So knowing the difference between an asset and a liability can be very important. And sometimes people think they know, but their life doesn't demonstrate that they're actually filling their day with assets. So one's hierarchy of values dictates their financial destiny. The hierarchy of your values dictates your financial destiny. So I'm going to do a little drawing up here. And I don't know if you can see it right here. I'll probably put it back over. Hopefully you can see it. Can you see it over there? I don't expect everybody to see everything, but I'll give a gist of it. I'm going to put 7 lines here. And they're rungs of a ladder. And at the top I'm going to put what's highest on your value, and down below I'm going to put what's lowest on the value. I could call it a higher priority and a lower priority, or the thing that's most important, MI, and the thing that's less important, LI. This whole thing is called the value structure of an individual, or the hierarchy of one's values. The hierarchy of one's values dictates their financial destiny. If you get nothing with that, get that today. The hierarchy of your values dictates your financial destiny. Tell me what you value, and I'll tell you where your money's flowing. So if you have at the top of your value, let's say you have a pound come in here, and the pounds come in, you're going to spend it according to what you value most. So if your highest value is your children, children's education, children's clothes, children's entertainment, children's health care, children's adventure, and next to that is home and furniture and socializing, parties, and maybe vacations and education, and down below is working and saving and investing money. Then the second money comes in, it's spent according to those values. And you will have more life at the end of your money than money at the end of your life, because money invested is down below. If wealth building is not high on your values, the probability of money going into assets is very low. See, assets go up in value, liabilities go down in value. And if you have a value on wealth building that's high, you want to put it in things that go up in value. If you have a value on money and wealth building low, you want to go into something that goes down in value. So I know people that make very large sums of money and have nothing to show for it. And none of it's working for them because of the hierarchy of values. It's not how much you make, it's how you manage what you make. And how you manage it is an expression of your highest values and how you see your value structure. I can't make that up in the sense of I can't tell you just change your values. Your values are your values. You can change them, but most people don't. Most people are reacting to their environment instead of consciously making decisions. Where most of the time, most people are conformist, subordinating to the collective, and not awakening the voice and the vision on the inside, where it's louder, more profound than the outer opinions. And so they're worried about being rejected, they're worried about not having things, and because of their unfulfillment, living in lower values, that they look for immediate gratification to compensate for it and buy things to make it immediate gratifying instead of actually investing long-term in a vision. And that's what keeps people trapped into a vicious cycle economically. And that's the majority of people. Now the idea that you're here and you're in the people that come, because the people who need it the most do it the least. And the people that need it the least do it the most as far as education. And would you agree that the educational system in schools, high schools, elementary schools, and even college were designed for drones, not designed for entrepreneurs, not designed for millionaires? Many of you, you're taught in school how to go and get a job, work for somebody else, get a paycheck, go to the bank, get a credit card as a privilege so you can get them interest, pay minimum amounts, get in debt, get a mortgage, get in debt, fractional reserve, securitization, and basically live as an indentured slave all your life. Does that make any sense? Instead of actually being a master of your destiny, you become a victim of history. I don't want to see that. I've traveled the world. For a purpose. To take whatever I can glean and research and try to disseminate that in a way that helps people empower their life. Any area of your life you don't empower, somebody's going to overpower you. If you don't advance yourself intellectually and think for yourself and think from the heart and from the wisdom of your gleaning information, if you don't empower yourself intellectually, you'll be told what to think. If you don't empower yourself in business, you'll be told what to do. If you don't empower yourself financially, you'll be told what you're worth. If you don't empower yourself in relationship, you'll be told what to do at home. If you're not empowered socially, you'll be told what propaganda to believe. If you don't empower yourself physically, you'll be told what drugs to take and what organs to remove. And if you don't empower yourself spiritually, you'll be told something that may be irrational, dogmatic, and antiquated. You have to take command and decide how you want your life. Because nobody's going to get up in the morning and dedicate their life to your mastery and fulfillment. It's up to you. And the hierarchy of your values is going to dictate your destiny and your financial destiny. So I just want to make that first point clear. Can that make sense? Yeah. Now, anytime we subordinate to people on the outside and look up to them, let's say we walk in a mall and we see somebody we think is more intelligent than us. What happens then is we minimize ourselves and we play small compared to people we put on a pedestal. Raise your hand if you've ever been infatuated with somebody and sacrificed what was important to you to be with them. And or met somebody that was highly intelligent, you felt maybe stupid or lack of intelligence. What happens then is if you put them on a pedestal and you minimize yourself, values in society go from those who have the most power to those who have the least power. So what happens is, if you put them on a pedestal, you'll inject their values. And the second you inject their values, you'll cloud the clarity of your own calling in life. And you'll lose your mission, your inspiration, trying to fit in. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "End is ignorance and invitation is suicide." And Einstein said, "My contempt for authority is what made me one. Subordinating to authority, I would never become authority." And then you meet people that you think are more successful. And then you minimize yourself again, and again, injected values. And then you meet somebody that's got more wealth than you, again, injected values. Then you meet somebody that's got a more stable relationship, again, injected values. I should be doing this, I ought to be doing this, I'm supposed to be doing this, I gotta do this, I have to do this. And you hear the imperative language in your psyche, which is the injected authorities that you've given power to, and you squashed yourself, and shrunk instead of shined. You played in conformity instead of enormity. And then you meet somebody that's more socially savvy, or has got more millions on the social network, and think, oh, who am I? And then you go and meet somebody that's got more physically fit, and more alert, more alive. And then you meet somebody that seems to be more spiritually aware. And in each of those areas of life, if you compare yourself to them and put them on pedestals, you'll minimize yourself and put yourself in place. And every time you do, and you inject their values, you'll attempt to live in their values, not your own. And if you're a cat, and you're comparing yourself to a fish, you'll beat yourself up because you can't swim. And if you're a fish, and you compare yourself to a cat, you'll beat yourself up because you can't climb. We're not here to compare ourselves to others. We're here to compare our daily actions to our own highest values.
Woo!
We're not here to live in the shadows of anyone. We're here to stand on the shoulders of giants.
Thank you, Dr. Martini.
So the moment we end up comparing ourselves and judging and disempowering ourselves and disowning, because when we're putting people on pedestals, we're too humble to admit what we see in them inside us. And then what we do is we don't recognize our magnificence. We play in our insignificance. But the moment we actually level the playing field and realize that if we admire somebody, whatever we admire in them, we're too humble to admit we haven't, but the truth is we haven't. But it's in our own values. And our own values are creating it. I'm going to do a little side tangent, a little story to get the point. Because I'm building about wealth consciousness in an indirect way. I had this doctor come to me, and they said, Dr. Demartini, I want to hire you to consult with me to help me become successful. And I said, great. Where are you successful? He said, no, I'm not successful. I want to be successful. I said, great. Where are you successful? He said, Dr. Demartini, you're not hearing me. I'm not successful. I want to be successful. I want you to help me become successful. And I'm not getting that across to you. And I said, I feel the same way. I'm asking a very simple question. Where are you successful? In your life, you have successes or achievements that you set out to do. Where are they? He goes, oh. Well, okay. I have an amazing relationship with my wife. We've been together 10 years, and we truly have two peas in a pod relationship. We really have a great deal of love for each other. I said, congratulations. Can you see that you have an achievement there that's quite astonishing? Because not everybody has that. He goes, yes. And what else do you have success? I have a son who's in baseball, and I'm the coach, and it looks like we're going to win the pennant for the summer. I said, can you see that you have a success there, achievement there? Yes. And what else? He said, well, my mother-in-law lives with us, and most people don't get along with their mother-in-law. And she lives with us, and she's lovely, and she is there, and she really helps us with the kids. And most people couldn't do that. And I think that's a success. I said, I would agree. Most people want to not live with their mother-in-law. What else? Well, we have this beautiful yard. The whole family lives in the yard and works in the yard, and we have this beautiful flowers and gardens and things, and I think we're going to win the summer yard for the summer. I said, what else are you successful in? Well, on Wednesday and Sundays, I'm a minister at my church, and I've been wanting to do that since my 20s, and yes, I think that's successful. And we started making a list of things that were inspiring to him that he was doing and achieving. I said, the only way you can feel that you're not successful is because you're comparing yourself to somebody else. Who are you comparing yourself to? I think I know who it is. It's this doctor on the hill. He's got a 6,000 square foot home. He's got a 3-car garage. He has a big practice. He has multiple cars. He really does a booming business. And I said, great. Do you know him well? He said, well, yeah, at Purdue. Do you know him and his wife? Yes. How's his relationship with his wife? Oh, that's interesting you ask. There's a lot of challenge in that relationship. They sometimes want to fight and separate, and then they come back, and it's highly volatile, and there's talk of divorce, and then they don't do it, and then because he's trapped with his money, they can't divorce because he doesn't want to give that bitch money. And he's ending that. Bitch is this beautifully inspired teacher of conscious humanity. That's his word, not mine. So in truth, his relationship with his wife was a little edgy. And then I said, how's his relationship to his son? Does he have a son? Yes. And how's he doing? Is he in baseball? No. They're having problems with him. He's on drugs, and they're having problems with him. And he's not really doing well in school. And what about the mother-in-law? Well, they moved out of the freaking country to get away from that crazy lady. And what about the yard? Well, I think they have people that take care of the yard. I don't think they even notice the yard. And what about the church? He's not one to go to church. He's busy doing his business. I said, let me explain to you. You're comparing yourself to a man that you thought was successful. But would you trade places with him right now? Would you be able to have and swap roles and have his relationship with his son, and have his relationship with his wife, and have his relationship with his mother-in-law, and his relationship with the yard, and his relationship to his spirituality? He goes, oh God, no. I said, let me explain to you something, a very great principle. he's not more successful than you. He's successful according to the hierarchy of his values, which is business and finance. And you're successful according to the hierarchy of your values, which is family and spirituality. You're not less successful. But if you compare yourself as a cat to a fish, you're going to think there's something wrong with you. And when you do, you're going to play small. And because you're going to compare yourself to others instead of compare your daily actions to your own values. And when you do, you realize that you're an amazing achiever in the areas that many people don't achieve. And he got a little watery-eyed, and he looked at me and goes, I've never thought of it that way, but I can see right now that I would not want to trade places with that man in those areas. I said, can you see in your hierarchy of values, at the top is your spiritual quest and your family, and the mid-zone is maybe business and finances. Most of it goes to the family, to the art, and everything else to the church, and everything else, she said, because every time I get money, it goes to those places. I said, your hierarchy of your values dictates your financial expenditures. And your values are different. So don't ever compare yourself to another person with a different set of values, or you'll beat yourself up thinking there's something wrong with you. But there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with anybody in this room. Their hierarchy of values is creating their destiny. But if they don't have a high value on wealth building, financial wealth building, they're going to have wealth in other forms. And please write this. Everybody has wealth. They have wealth in their form, according to what they value most. His child is his wealth. His beautiful yard is his wealth. His spiritual quest and connection in his church is his wealth. His relationship with his wife is his wealth. His relationship with his mother-in-law is his wealth. He's not missing wealth. He just doesn't have financial wealth. Because he has a higher value on those things than he does on asset accumulation. Are you with me?
Yes.
It is in the plan. So I'm not here to tell you that if you don't have financial wealth at the top of your list, there's something wrong with you. But anytime you set a goal that is not aligned and congruent with what you value most, you're designed to beat yourself up. And it's not a weakness. It's a normal biological, physiological response inside your psyche to let you know you're not being authentic to what your values are. And anytime you set a goal that's not matching what you really, really value, see, if that man set a goal to go and help his church, he would achieve it. He'd be walking his talk. But if he was to set a goal of anything that would interfere with those things that he really values, he would end up procrastinating, hesitating, and frustrating, and not being active. Because whatever's highest on your value, you're spontaneously inspired to act on. But whatever's low on your value, you need motivation to act. And motivation is a symptom, never a solution for humanity. It's a symptom. I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm not here to motivate you to do something. I'm here to help you find out what inspires you and structure your life in a way that you can live an inspired life. Does that make sense? It's a different outcome. I don't need motivation to do what I do. I don't need a motivational gimmick. I'm an inspired man, a man on a mission doing what I set out to do when I was 17, which is research, write, travel, and teach. Okay? And you got to be able to know yourself and know what's really important to you and honor that instead of comparing yourself to others and missing out on the magnificence of who you are. That's true love. Raise your hand if you're with me so far. Yes. I hope that you having to stay all this day and that you are going to get something out of this session. Now, I had genuine wealth my whole life. We all do. But I didn't have financial wealth, understanding, until 28. And I'm going to shock you for a second. Can I do that?
Yes.
I had a guy named Jim McKinley come up to me, who was a financial planner that worked for a gentleman named Bill Baker, who was the financial planner for my father. And he was young, just a couple years older than I was. And he asked me some questions that were very confronting. And I'm going to ask you those, and they're not going to be comfortable. Okay? Do I have permission to do that?
Yes.
But they changed the trajectory of my financial destiny. It gave me a motive to try to raise financial wealth up. Now, before I do this, when I was 18 years old, well, when I was 17 years old, I nearly died. And I met a teacher who inspired me to do what I'm doing today. I never thought I was ever going to be intelligent until I met this teacher. I had learning problems as a child. I couldn't read. I didn't read my first book until I was 18. If you wonder why I read so much now, it's because I discovered I can. And it means a lot. That you can read, you can take a whole person's life in one book and take a whole life and absorb that and take it in. And that's like taking in the world. It just means a lot. But at age 18, well, at 17, Paul Bragg told me, this teacher told me, you want to set a goal for yourself, your family, your city, your community, your city, your state, your nation, your world, for 100 to 120 years. And I wrote that down and I started doing it. I started writing goals for myself, my family, my community, a city, etc. I didn't have a wife and kids at the time, but whatever I knew of my close family. And then I found out there were 7 areas of life: spiritual, mental, career, financial, family, social, and physical. And I wanted to be a master. Raise your hand if you have a desire to be a master. I wanted to be a master. I didn't know what it meant. It just sounded cool. Masters of the universe company. But I wanted to be a master. And I defined and wrote out goals. I'm a firm believer in goals. Because if you don't decide, other people decide. And if you don't fill your day with high priority actions that inspire you, your day is going to fill up with low priority distractions that don't. And nobody's going to get up in the morning and dedicate your life to your fulfillment. Everybody's going to project their values onto you and expect you to do things that give them fulfillment. Even your own family. So I made a decision that I wanted to master my life. And the way I perceived it at the time was this. I wanted to create original, ingenious, original ideas that served humanity. And I wrote that down. I wanted to have an international business, and I wanted to step foot in every country on the face of the earth. I've been in 151 countries now. I still got about 70 to go. But I wanted to go to every country and teach in every country around the world. I wanted to have... I wanted to have financial independence. I didn't have any reality-based idea at 18. It wasn't until I was 28, 10 years later, before I really grasped that. It sounded cool. I wasn't living it. I was living my life, not walking my talk financially. I was good at making money, but everything went to books. I was buying 40 to 70 books a week on average. Because I didn't ever think I was going to be able to read. When I found out I could, that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to catch up. Because I had such a value in that, all my money went to books and to school. I wanted to have a global family. My affirmation was that a universe is my playground, the world is my home, every country is a room in the house, and every city is a platform I get to share my heart and soul. I live on a ship called the world. And it advertised, not because of me, but the universe is the playground, the world is the home, and every country is a room in the house. Because of that affirmation, that became my reality. I want to have social influence. I started making a list of all the people that had anything to do with global influence that I would meet. That's 4,000 global influencers now. I wanted to have a physical body that was vital and energized and doing something amazing. Enough when I'm 100 to be able to get 24 Victoria's Secret models in my bed. I'm joking. But I'm doing pretty good for 65. I keep a pretty intense schedule. And I wanted to create an inspiring movement that wasn't a religion, but it was an inspiration that anybody from any religion could be part of. It would help people open their hearts and recognize the magnificence of who they are. And I call that my breakthrough experience. It's a program that I do. I've done it 1,070 times. I've done 28,000 hours into that program. So I set out to make a contribution and to develop and empower all 7 areas. That was my definition of a masterful life. Each of you have a different definition. And don't take mine find out from your heart what's true for you. The hierarchy of your values need to determine it. But I realized that one of those areas was finance. But I really didn't find myself educating in that. I was studying philosophy, I was studying theology, I was studying the brain, I was lecturing on embryology and studying embryology. It wasn't until I turned 27, I was really 25 to 27, I started studying comparative philosophy and theology. And I studied 3,000 different religious constructs, from 50,000 people up to 2 billion people in a religion. I wanted to understand what was the common thread in human psychology and spirituality. But I wasn't interested in finance till 28. And then I realized if I'm going to master this, I'm going to have to devour this. Now, I've probably read 1,400 books in the field now, which gives me some insights. And I've been blessed to do hundreds and hundreds of interviews, radio, television, and work with people, and build my business and become financially independent. I definitely reached financial independence. I could probably live the rest of my life easily on a couple $1 million a year doing nothing and hanging on my shit. But you know what that would be to me? Death. This, what I'm doing right now, is life to me. There's nothing more inspiring to me than standing right here and sharing from our heart what could make a difference in all of our lives. That's what I love doing.
Ooh.
So I realized that I'm going to have to make a shift. And Jim McKinley, this young man, woke me up. And I'm going to give you the 10 questions now that he asked me. And it's going to hurt. Fair enough?
Yes,
Turn the person next to you and says, I'm ready for some pain.
I'm ready for some pain. I'm ready for some pain. I hope you're all following.
Okay. He asked me, so Dr. Demartini, I was a young doctor, just graduated. He asked me, what are your total assets? What are my total assets? And I said, what exactly is that? That's how dumb I was. What exactly did you mean? Because his idea of what assets were may be different. Everybody here has hidden assets. And it's always hiding in the form of what you value most. If you have a high value on children, your children is precious. And if somebody gave you $10 million for your child, you'd say, no, you couldn't pay me. Unless they were teenagers. So Alfred Marshall and his principles of economics show that every muscle you move, that you take action or stop action or inaction, is measurable economically. So let's say you don't smoke. But if I gave you enough money, if I gave you $100 million, how many would smoke a cigarette? $100 million to smoke one cigarette. You smoked the hell out of that cigarette, wouldn't you? And if you smoke, if I gave you $100 million, you'd stop, wouldn't you? Mm-hmm. So every movement or non-movement is measurable economically. That's what Alfred Marshall, Principle of Economics textbook wrote. And so that meant that everything you do that's really valuable to you is measurable economically. So you store your wealth in what you value by your actions and inactions. So if your children are highly valuable, I met a gentleman named Michael Toms that did radio shows 7 days a week, 7 to 8 hours a day, reaching 55 million people on his show every day. He was like a Larry King Live of radio in television. And I got to go on his show, and he lived in a warehouse. His home was in his radio station warehouse that had all the archives of 48 years or 47 years worth of radio. His life was radio, social contribution. And when I walked in his warehouse, I was amazed. He had interviews by the presidents for the last 40 years. He had interviews with all the rock stars, Jimi Hendrix, the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, He had interviews stacked in storage. He's a billionaire worth of intellectual property and assets in his warehouse. At the end of my interview, I did one live one and one pre-tape. he asked for donations with a piece of paper that looked like it had been copied for 48 years, asking for $1, $5, $10, $20, or $50 donation. To speak to 55 to 80 million people, he was asking for $1 for donations to keep his radio charity open. And I said, well, you're a billionaire. Why are you asking for donations? He said, we're not billionaires. We barely make it every month. I said, well, bigger assets that you don't recognize. I said, if you were packed because they didn't have a value for most of them. They had a value on wealth in the form of intellectual property and social contribution. So whatever's highest on your value is what you see for. In fact, the folded on nuclei in the thalamus filters all sorts of information and creates your selective reality based on your value. And she valued herself. She was not an escort. Asked.